Thank you, thank you. I know I'm in trouble because I can never live up to that introduction. I'm really in a hot seat here. So just a little bit about today. Today is really meant to be very interactive. I don't want to stand here and talk for the next 90 minutes, and you don't want to listen to me for the next 90 minutes, right? So I really need you to participate, engage, contribute, because I think really a lot of the learning is going to take place from each other, right? That's how we're going to learn a little bit today, not just from me, of course, right? So a little bit I'd like to do this is just a few people introduce who you are, what you do, where you work, and why you're here today. What made you come to this particular, and if it's the first time you're here, I'd really love to hear from you. Anybody here for the very first time? Oh, wow, wow. How about you guys? Any one of you? Your name, what you do, where you work, and why you came today.
I'm Lindsay Price-Kennis. I work at the Blount County Children's Advocacy Center, and I'm the clinical director there, so I oversee our therapy team. And I came just to kind of help learn ways to foster a good team. Good,
good. Who else? First timer.
Crystal Doherty, HR Operations Manager with Clayton Homes. And I'm here, I'm always looking to be better leader, and what can we bring back to our team.
Good, I love it, I love it. Who else? First time.
Hunter Higgs, I'm a training specialist at Blount Memorial Hospital. And I'm here just to kind of see what the training is about, and also I like to see how people present themselves, and I can kind of copy what they do.
Good, good. And we have somebody back here, yes?
My name is Kim Velasquez. I work at Smoky Mountain Harley Davidson. I do payroll and HR.
Good.
Looking for new ideas to bring the teams together.
Good. I am glad you're all here. So today, here's what we got, I think. A little bit about me. I know Greg gave you an introduction. I'm going to give you a little different side of me, a little personal, I guess. This is my wife. This is a date night. I took her shooting, right? Literally the first time she ever held a gun in her life. And at one point during the night, she did this right toward me. I said, no, 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 please. I don't know whether she did that on accident or on purpose. I'm really not, and I've never asked her, so I don't know, right? Another date night, we went out for drinks. Different night, we did not go drinking and then shooting. I'm not that stupid, right? I wouldn't do that. My daughter and son-in-law, they live in Pennsylvania, about 700-800 miles away from us, so we don't see them all that often. And then we have what my daughter now calls our first grand dog, little puppy, about 15 months old, good little dog. Her name is Tenny, of course, for Tennessee, right? So before I do my slides and my presentation, I always show them to my wife. I say, hey, what do you think? Give me your input. Be critical, be judgment, whatever. And so I showed her this. Oh, my dog, I forgot, right? We have a little puppy dog. His name is Benji. He looks really cute there. He's not really nice. He likes me, my wife, my daughter, and not necessarily in that order, right? I'm not his favorite, let's just say that, right? But I showed my slides to my wife and I said, hey, honey, you're number one. She said, really? I said, 29 years of marriage going on 30, of course you are. What else? Who else could it be? I didn't show her this part, right? That dog thinks he's the king of the house. He really does, sitting there eating his Bluebell ice cream. Little does he know, though, he has been displaced as of about 4 months ago. We got a little grandbaby, cute little baby girl. We don't get to see her very often. We saw her about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and she's amazing. That's all I could say. Grandparents, you understand it, right? It's crazy. And then a little bit about my background. 13 years in the service industry, 7 years in hospitality, always in HR, 38 years in human resources. I wouldn't know how to do anything else. I wouldn't want to do anything else. I can't imagine being on the operations side of a business. That's beyond my comprehension. 5 years in state government, and then 23 years in manufacturing, okay? What I'd like to do now is a little bit different. On the tables, and if you can get in groups, there are these boxes, and inside the box, there's a jigsaw puzzle. So I want you to get together in groups, in teams, right, and put this puzzle together, right? Okay? If I talked about an all-star team, right, this is kind of a foundation. But what are the things, what are the characteristics, traits, behaviors, whatever you want to call them, of a high-performing team, an all-star team? What do we got? What can we come up with? Anybody? What do they look like? What do they sound like?
Communications.
What's that?
Communication.
Communication, good communication skills. What else?
Just willing to help.
Willing to help. I'll contribute. I'll do what I got to do. What else?
Forward thinking.
Initiative, right?
Forward thinking.
Forward thinking, absolutely. What else?
Diverse in their expertise.
Diverse in their expertise. I like it. What else?
Understanding of the goal or the purpose.
Understanding of the goal or their purpose, absolutely. What else can we come up with? Anything else? Characteristics of an all-star team. What do they look like? Think of a team at work. Think of a sports team that you admire or that you respect. Determination. What else? I'm sorry.
Shared goals.
Shared goals. Okay? Yeah, really good. I love it. I love it. So this comes a lot from Simon Sinek, right? They're innovative, trusting, honest, open, right? Collaborative. They work well together. We kind of said that. They take risks, right? They're willing to, hey, let's try this. Let's give it a shot. High performing. They get results. They obtain the goal. They achieve what they're set out for. They show commitment to their organization, to their team. They support one another. They're there in the good times and the bad times, right? They listen to one another, right? Give constructive feedback, not afraid to speak up and say, hey, I think you're going a little sideways today. Let's get you back on track a little bit, okay? They share. They're diverse. And they have strong retention, right? So a little bit of a flavor for what a team looks like that's a all-star team in my mind anyway. And I think Simon Sinek is, most of that's his stuff there, okay? SHRM, the National HR Society, did a study in 2022, and they come up with 4 findings from employees, and it was a pretty diverse group that they surveyed and looked at. One of the things the employees said they wanted was flexibility, right? And I think that's pretty obvious, pandemic era, right? We want hybrid work, we want remote work, we need flexibility on our scheduling, on our needs, etc. They want it to be listened to. Hear us out. Listen to what we're telling you. Take it in, absorb it, do something with it, but hear us out. They talked about a holistic approach, total well-being. Mental well-being, mental health came to the forefront even more. I think it started with Simone Biles back in the Olympics when she withdrew from the games and said, I can't participate due to mental health. I think the pandemic just brought that to the surface, and it is still here today with us, right? It is an issue that's never going to change. It's part of life. It's part of work. I think it's here for us. And then they said they wanted to have employers to have a customer mindset. We want you, employer, to wow us just like you try to wow your customers. That's what we expect from you as an employee, right? So a couple things that they come up with. So let me ask you a question. If I'm going to build the team, do I hire for skill or do I hire for culture fit, so to speak? You know the question? You know what I'm saying? Which is it? What's that?
Culture.
Culture. I'm going to hire for culture every time. And we don't want to argue that, debate it.
It might depend on what that team does.
Might depend on what the team does.
Yeah, if it's highly technical,
Okay?
it's mostly independent work. Not that the culture wouldn't matter, but they would have to have some of those skills.
Okay.
If it's something that you can train on, then definitely culture every single time.
Culture every single time. If I can train them, if it's a technical skill job, I need that expertise. Anybody else? Hospital folks. I'm hiring a surgeon. What do I want? Bedside manner or expertise and technical skills? Say that again and say it louder. Say it again.
I want a lot of applicants, and I want to choose somebody that fits skill and culture.
Wouldn't that be great, right? That would be awesome. Yeah, I had to have surgery years ago, and I said to this friend who worked at the hospital, I said, I got to have this surgery, and it's Dr. X. And he said, if you're looking for bedside manner, forget it, it ain't going to happen. But if you want a great surgeon, you're in the right hands, right? But if I can get both, That is perfect. That's what I'm looking for. I want a lot of applicants where I can get both of what I need and what I want, right? And I think you're right on, right? I want to hire for culture if I can train the person to do the job, right? If it's a food server or, I don't know, whatever it might be, right? I want to be able to, but the culture, I can't change them in a lot of ways. That's going to be a real uphill battle for a lot of folks, right? So important to understand, okay? We've all seen this. You want to finish the sentence? One bad apple spoils the whole bunch, right? So it's important to understand when we are hiring, because that's building the team. We got to have that right team to start with, right? I want to make sure I'm not hiring that one bad apple, okay? So in front of you on your desk there, on your piece of, there's a paper, there's a recruitment selection tool or test, whatever you want to call it. Take a couple minutes and fill that out. Right? If you scored a 2 or less on anything, that's something, talk to your folks back at work and say, we need to look at this, we need to address this, we need to fix it, we need to correct it, we need to take some action, right? If you scored a lot of 3s, same thing. It's like, hey, we need to look at what we're doing here as far as our recruitment and selection process goes. It's really a very subjective thing. It's not meant to be super scientific, just a tool to take a look at your own process and see where you can improve, where you can get better. The one thing I would tell you is this, especially in this labor market, and this labor market is shifting a little bit, but we're not there yet. Every applicant we have, every employee we have, whether we hire them or don't hire them, whatever, every employee that leaves our organization, they are an ambassador for your company. They're going to say good things or bad things about you, right? That application process was perfect. They communicated well. They got back to me when they said they were going to, whatever it might be. Or I interviewed on Monday. They said I have an answer by Friday, and guess what? I didn't get a call for 3 weeks, right? That's not good, right? So it all depends. So what I would say is, what's the story you want them to tell, right? Obviously, it should be a good story, right? And then what's the story you're creating for them to tell, right? Because if I'm going to build a team, a lot of ways I'm going to do it is just by word of mouth. People say, hey, this is a great place to work. You should come work with me. My boss is great. It's a great culture. It's a great organization, whatever it might be, okay? A couple things, job descriptions, right? When is the last time you looked at your job descriptions? Are they valid? Are they current? Have they changed since the pandemic? Have we updated them? What's the best way to find out if they're really accurate and true? What's that? Ask the managers to review them. Anybody else? With the employee. Bingo, Janet. Absolutely, right? These are the people on the front line doing the job. Does this still hold true today? Is this really the way we do this thing around here, right? When I worked, and this kind of goes to the interview and selection process as well, I worked in Caesars Atlantic City for 7 years in hospitality. We had to submit to the state every single year a written narrative which was pages long of our process. How do you hire someone? What's the steps? And the state had to kind of approve it and say, yeah, that's okay, we like that, right? Very controlled, regulated business, right? But job descriptions are important. Recruitment ads, and I threw that in quotes because they're a little bit different. Recruitment ad is not the same as a job description, and it's definitely not the same as a job posting. And one of the things we're seeing is a little bit of shift, and I'll show you an ad in a minute, in what's advertised and how it's advertised. And I'm going to show you an ad. If anybody in this room guesses the right company, I should be writing you a check for $1 million, right? Because I never in a million years when I saw this thought of that company, never, right? The interview selection process, are we consistent? Is it a single person doing the interviews and making the decision? Do we use a panel? How does that process flow? What's the best way? Does it work? Are we having success with it? The last 7 hires we hired, they quit within 3 weeks. That's not a sign of success or progress, right? That's not where we want to be. We got to look at that. And then how do we welcome them to the team, right? What's the process? I have a client, and this blew me away when she said, before they come on board, we have a document, right, with their teammates' pictures and then a little bio about that person. I'm John, I've worked here for 7 years, I have 2 pet dogs, I like to go hiking, blah, 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 blah. And they email that to the person that's going to be hired before their first day. Hey, just want to give you a little heads up, these are the folks you're going to be working with. And when John comes in or whoever comes in that very first day at work, hey, I go hiking too. We've already got a bond. We've got a connection instantly that maybe they never would have found out for 3 weeks or a month or 2 months, whatever it might be. So pretty neat process. So the welcome to the team is important, and you got to think outside the box. The interview process. I have a client downtown Knoxville. When they call and schedule the person for an interview, they tell them, I don't want you to park in the garage. I don't want you to park in a surface lot. I don't want you to park in a meter. I want you to pull up and you're going to use our valet service, right? And don't worry about the tip. We got the tip covered, but you're going to valet park every time. It's like, hey, this is a real nice thing, right? This is a place I want to be at. So that process has to be important to you. It has to be important to them, and it has to work, okay? So here's the ad I'm going to show you. I don't know if you all can read it or not. Can everybody see the print, or is it too small? You can see it. Any guesses? Who is it? Disney. Funeral home. Oh, we help you change lives. Anybody else? Guesses? Who's that? Chick-fil-A. I hear that a lot when I show this. People say, oh, Chick-fil-A. It's not Chick-fil-A, though. Tesla. 3 more guesses. Let's see if we can get it. If you guys get it to be the first time it's ever been done, I'll tell you that. Google. Good guess. Good guess, but not Google. I don't know what their ads look like. I'd be curious to see. Anybody else? Ford. How about if I said it is a fast food place, believe it or not? They help change lives. Do you want to help us change lives at a fast food place? McDonald's? Pal? Jersey Mike's. Making hoagies, I'm going to change lives. Right? When somebody sees this ad, they can have pretty much one of 2 reactions, right? What do you think it is? If I'm a job seeker and I go to Jersey Mike's website or on Indeed and I pull up this ad and I see this, what's my reaction? Really?
This sounds fun.
This sounds fun. I want to be part of this team, or I'm not changing lives by making hoagies. I can't imagine that. That's not the culture or place for me, right? Interestingly, McDonald's and Chick-fil-A's ads, not quite this strong, but a similar vein, a very similar vein. Not just here's the job duties, here's the requirements, apply here. A little bit of a, here's our culture, here's who we are, here's what we're talking about, and then a little bit more of the job description, etc. So just something to keep in mind. So as we build this team, and you've seen this before, I'm sure, right? The stages of a team, right? Forming, storming, norming. And I put it in really just for informational purposes. If you want these slides afterward, give me your business card. I can shoot them out to you, whatever. But it's just a little bit of a reminder of the stages of a team, right? The other thing that I would point out to you is that this occurs when we significantly change the duties of folks on the team or an individual on the team if the team is that small, right? If I got a 3-person team and I change one person's duty significantly, they go through this process, maybe to not to the extent of a brand new hire walking in the door, but they go through that process all over again if we start changing duties up significantly, right? But these are the primary 4 stages. Adjourning is more of a temporary kind of a team situation, but just FYI, just so you have it, okay? So I want to have smooth onboarding. I want to bring that person on board. I want to welcome them to the team. I want to encourage early engagement. I want to create team bonding. What are some ways I can do that? What are some ways? Like I mentioned earlier, this client who sends this email thing out before they even get here, right? That bonds them to their team before they walk in the door. How else can I do this? I want to engage them at the get-go. I want to get them off the ground, up and running, bond with their teammates.
You have to make that first day, whenever it is special and memorable for them.
Okay.
So you can do some kind of welcome, it could be a banner, balloons, breakfast, or
Okay.
assign them a buddy system. So today you're going to be with this person, you're going to shadow them, learn everything there is to learn about that, and then assign different people so that they know every day like who they're going to be with. We like to provide a 2-week or plus training plan so they know for my first 2 weeks I'm going to be learning all of this stuff. And then we build in about an hour at the end of the day for them to go back and recap any notes, top those up, get themselves organized. Questions like that. And then another thing that we do is throughout those first 2 weeks, we assign different departments within a person that they would go and they would meet with those teams and see how do I interact with you? How do you support us? How do we support you?
Do you want to come up here and do this? Because no, seriously, that's great. That really is. What else? What other ways can we make them feel bonded, encouraged, engaged with the team early? Because in the early days, that's when we want to get them, right? If we don't do that in the beginning, there's a strong chance we're going to lose them, right? Strong chance.
It sounds like to bounce off of what you're doing is to get that team prepped, to get them ready to embrace this new.
Absolutely.
You don't have to not act yourself, but, kind of get them
Yeah.
psyched up, ready to go, positive, get the good vibes.
Maybe I include one of the team members on the interview process. I don't know. Depends on the organization, on the culture. The lunch thing, I know a guy, he works in downtown Knoxville, large company, but that first week, every single day, that person is scheduled to go to lunch with their supervisor. One day it's a teammate, one day it's the supervisor, one day it's somebody from another department, right? It is scheduled and structured, and he said it happens like clockwork. He said it is absolute, there's no, oh, we're too busy. They go to lunch, they go for an hour, they over to Market Square somewhere, they pick a place to go to lunch, and it happens no matter what, okay? Just a couple ideas, a couple thoughts, you need to think about it. Clearly defined roles, that goes back to the job descriptions. If they don't know what they're supposed to be doing, right, that's just going to create chaos for them and for the rest of your team, right? So let's make sure everybody knows what their lane is, keep them in that lane, keep them focused, here's what we're trying to achieve, etc., right? And then make sure they understand how they contribute to the team's or the organization's overall goals, right? When I go to see a potential client, I do two things. Usually it's the HR manager that I'm meeting with generally, and if they don't offer to give me a tour of the facility, I ask, hey, can I get a look at the property? Can I see your manufacturing floor? Whatever it might be. And what I do as I'm going through, I will chat with people, talk to them, hey, how you doing, good morning, whatever kind of thing. Sometimes it'll end up in a conversation with that person, right? Sometimes it's just and I sense or know from the HR manager's relationship to the employees on the floor what that culture's like. I can tell pretty instantly, like, oh yeah, this is a pretty good place, or whatever it might be. I went to one, and I remember this so distinctly. It was a very linear factory, and I asked the person who's on the front end of the process, what do you think of the department on the end of the line here? They're down the, oh, I don't know, I've never been there. I said, you've never been there? How long you worked here? 3 years. I said, have you ever seen the finished product? Can't say that I have. I was like, what? Like, you gotta be kidding me, right? So how do you know what you're doing here looks like out here? How important is what you're doing? You couldn't possibly, right? And I said, good idea. Maybe they should see what they're producing at some point. Not necessarily every day or every week, but at least once in 3 years, right? It's important, okay? So they should understand how they fit into the big picture. Communication, open and honest, right? We got to make sure it's a two-way communication. And some people say, oh, I have an open door policy. That's great, but let's make sure they know you want them to come in, right? I had a guy one time who inevitably, his door would be open, but he'd have a note on the door, on a webinar, I'll be back in an hour kind of thing. And it's like, no, you can't do that, right? If you're going to go to a webinar, go to a conference room, do it, whatever, but don't sit in your office with the door open and pretend that people are welcome to come in when they're really not, right? Active listening, that goes to the SHRM thing, right? They want to be heard, they want to be listened to, they want to be reacted to. Constructive and timely feedback, important. Whether it's good news or bad news, right? We owe it to them to give them some feedback. Hey, you're on track, you're doing really well. Don't wait till the end of the first week and say, how you doing? And then, oh, well, you know, on day one you did this. Or get them. I have a company that the end of the first day for the employee, that employee comes back to HR at the end of the day, and HR does like a check-in with them. How'd it go? What happened today? Did you like it? What were the problems you encountered? And they uncover so many things that frontline supervisors don't do or fail to do, or they don't live up to the expectation that was set out for that new hire. It's important. So get some feedback from them. Give them a mechanism for that to happen, okay? The next two slides are from John Gordon, and this is a tool I would encourage you to use, right? On a scale of 1 to 10, how well do you communicate with your full team, right? Everybody, right? 10 is great. 1 is, needs a lot of work. And then individually, right? And you can assess this for yourself. If you're really daring, you can ask your team these questions about yourself. And if you're not that daring but you want answers, hey, put it on a little yellow sticky, stick it in this envelope, give me a number 1 to 10, how well do I communicate? And at the end of the day, give me the envelope from the team, right? And then, hey, I scored a 7 as an average. Go back to your team, you scored me as a 7, what do I need to do to become a 10? Where am I missing things? What am I not doing that you guys need, right? Because I'm failing somewhere, right? All depends how daring you might be, what your culture is, etc. Okay? And again from Gordon, where there's a void, there's no communication, there is negativity happening, right? That void is going to get filled with something, right? Don't wait for the crisis. Establish routine connections with individuals and groups. Anybody here use one-to-one meetings with employees? I'm just curious. You guys do, yeah? Regularly? Great. Anybody else? One-to-ones, familiar with them? Yeah. Great tool. It really is very effective. The problem with them is if you start them, you've got to consistently execute with them. You can't be the soup of the day kind of a thing, or hey, this month we're doing it, and then next month it falls off the map, right? It's got to be regular and consistent. And I have a little slide deck. If you email me, I can send you the slide deck on one-to-ones that I have. It's pretty good, right? Honesty and transparency. Lead by walking around. Go to your people, share a coffee or meal. Take a walk, right? If you're walking side by side with somebody on a campus or in a situation in an office, you're going to get a lot of communication going back and forth, right? It's not like I'm on the opposite side of the desk, right? Take the temperature, take the pulse of the room. What's it feel like? I used to work with a guy, and he and I have to laugh at it because it's kind of funny. He said, I don't know, every time I go in the break room, they stop talking. So that's not a good sign. That's not a good indicator here, right? Listening is communicating. It's not just talking, right? We want to hear from them, make them feel important, listen to understand and not respond, right? A lot of times what we do, especially if we're hearing something not so constructive or not so encouraging, we're already formulating our response to that thing we're being told, right? We're thinking about it. Oh, I want to say this, I'm going to say this, I'm going to say this, right? You've got to slow down, take it in, listen to what they're telling, and listen to understand, basically, okay? Shout praise, whisper criticism, smile. Smile goes a long way. Use their name. People love to hear their name, right? Spread positive gossip. Hey, did you hear what Mary did? She accomplished this. She got this done. Nobody's ever done that in that short amount of time, whatever it might be. Spread some positive gossip. And then positive nonverbals, high fives, handshakes, the proverbial pat on the back, whatever it might be, something like that, okay? So a couple ideas. We got to build trust and collaboration. We want them to trust us. We want to trust them. We want to collaborate with them as a team. So do what you say and say what you do. Leverage your team's strengths, and then provide good motivation and recognition. Any thoughts on leveraging team strengths? How can we do that, right? I don't want to necessarily isolate one person and make them the strength, basically, but how can I leverage the team strengths? Group projects, team projects, absolutely. Let me marry you up with somebody and you guys work on this. What else? Any other thoughts? Where my wife works, they have a weekly meeting every Wednesday. And they know from now until the end of the year, every Wednesday, one of them is going to give a 10-minute presentation on any topic they want. People pick topics they're experts at or that they're comfortable with, right? And they come in, and 99% of the time, she said, it's always about a work thing. It's not a personal, I'm a good gardener, right? It's always about work. So they're sharing their expertise with their coworkers. The team is getting stronger by that process, but every Wednesday, 10 minutes they get to make this little presentation. She said it's not even slides, it's just a, notes, handwritten thing, whatever it might be. Maybe they type up something, but everybody wants to shine in their 10 minutes, basically. And it's all scheduled from now until the end of December, basically, okay? So how do we do this, right? These are things folks want, and these are not necessarily in any particular order, okay? Except the last one, and we'll talk about that when we get there. Work-life balance becoming more and more important. People are looking for flexibility, remote, hybrid work, whatever it might be. I have a friend, he lost his job about 1.5 years ago in HR, and he said, I don't want to look at anything unless it's either hybrid or remote. And I said, well, how are you going to be an HR manager remotely? How's that going to work, right? Like, how are the people going to know who you are? And, well, probably not, right? So he went about 3 months with that mindset, didn't get a job, right? And then I was like, well, I'm going to look at hybrid jobs. That's going to work. I'm going to look at hybrid jobs for a while. And he did that for a while and had a couple interviews and all that, but didn't go. And then he finally gave up on that and said, no, I got to be real about this. That's not a role that I can do from home or whatever. And most companies kind of said the same thing to him and indirectly by not hiring him, not bringing him in. But work-life balance is important for folks, right? Career and learning opportunities, we want to develop them, put tools in front of them. I have a client that does a podcast of the month. So every month, like June, now they'll put up July's. July, our podcast of the month is going to be Patrick Lencioni's Working Genius, right? So they listen to that podcast in July, and every week in July in their staff meeting, they talk about what they heard on the podcast, right? Luncheon meeting kind of thing. Something to foster that. Encourage them to come to events like this, right? Here, this is a good opportunity for you to grow and learn, to network with other folks, etc. Okay? Give them the opportunities. And if you have to spoon feed a little bit, you've got to spoon feed a little bit, okay? Meaningful and purposeful work. People want to know they're having an impact. Think back to that ad from Jersey Mike's. We're going to change lives, right? By making hoagies, right? Comp and benefits are important. The last sentence there, though, overall package is more important than the salary alone. Salary is important, but they're looking for more than that today. They're looking for the whole package, right? Everything, not just the money, not just the dollars, and they're important still, but it's not the whole thing or the only thing that's going to help them make a decision, okay? Diversity, equity, inclusion, increasingly important. Again, it's not going to go away or change. It's here, right? We've got to adapt to that. We've got to accept it and understand the value of it, the importance of it, and what it contributes to the overall bottom line of our organization. Autonomy and empowerment. Make them feel trusted and responsible for their work, right? I did a workshop a couple weeks ago, and there were workbooks that went with it. And I said to them at the end, I said, now take the workbook, put your name on it, and next month when I come back, bring your workbook with you. And the HR manager, and I was like, I cringed. He said, no. I'll collect the workbooks and I'll bring them with me. Because he didn't trust that they would not lose the workbook from one month to the next. And I said, but we're talking about empowering people, right? And that's one of the things, we want to empower our people. I said, great, but you're not doing that, right? So think about how you act and behave with your folks, okay? Positive company culture, really, really important. Can't say it enough. It's out there. People are looking for it. People are expecting it. People are demanding it. We've got to make sure we're doing everything we can to foster and embody a good culture, a strong culture. Technology and innovation. It goes without saying, I think most organizations, most companies today are tech savvy. They've come along, they understand what's the importance of it, the significance. And employees today, especially they grew up in this environment. They expect it, they require it. One of the things I see from time to time is the support is not sufficient for the operation. The IT person is remote, or the IT person is spread so thin he can't or she can't possibly take care of all the users, whatever it might be. So we just got to be careful of that. Health and well-being, mental health days, EAPs, etc. If you don't have an EAP, Employee Assistance Program, it's something I would strongly encourage you to look at or get. They're relatively low cost, sometimes even no cost if you get a good carrier that's willing to help you out a little bit. But they're really important. And there's more and more data that shows the 20 to 30-year-olds are saying, I could use professional mental health help because of workplace issues. There's a significant, increasingly significant number because of what they think is workplace stress, et cetera, okay, what they're experiencing. Environmental, social responsibility, are you a green company? Are you LEED certified, et cetera? That's becoming important to folks, okay? And then lastly, job security and stability, right? And I put this last because it's kind of a mixed bag. Folks my age, this would be really important, right? Really, really important. Younger folks, they look at it and say, oh, I'll get a job down the street, right? Now it's slowing down a little bit, right? But the average newer generation stays about 2.7, 2.8 years in a job, and then they're ready to move on to something else, okay? So stability is important, but it all depends on the age group, okay? So what do I have to do as a coach, as a leader, right? We smile, we see Michael Scott up there, right? Hold them accountable. Why is that important? Why should I hold folks accountable? Because doesn't that sound kind of old school? Joy, help me out. Why would I hold folks accountable?
Well, if you're talking about a whole team, they want to know that everybody's doing their part and everybody's participating.
Okay. Everybody's participating, they're doing their part, they're contributing. What else?
Helps with morale, I think, if people see someone slacking and nobody does anything about it, why should I try?
Yeah. If somebody's slacking and nobody does anything about it, they're saying, hey, why does he get away with it and I don't? Right? Morale, one bad apple kind of spoils the whole bunch, okay? Having difficult conversations, and I put difficult in quotes. They're difficult, they're hard to have, but I think they're really growth conversations. I want to talk to you because I'm concerned and I care about your performance, your growth, where you're going, what's going to happen in your future, etc. I care enough about you that I'm willing to have this hard conversation. A couple of books on that particular topic. There's one called Fierce Conversations by a woman named Susan Scott, right? There's another one called Radical Candor by Kim Scott. And there's a brand new one that just came out about a month ago by Amy Kelly and John Gordon called Difficult Conversations Don't Have to Be Difficult. All three are great books if you want to dig into that a little bit more, okay? Create and communicate the vision, right? Make sure they understand what we're trying to achieve, where we're going. If I gave you a picture of that puzzle, if I had put that up on the screen, would the puzzle have been easier to do? Definitely, definitely. But they purposely put it in a white plain box, right? Not much on it, just to force us a little bit, to force us to do something. But if I have the vision, it is definitely a lot easier, right? So I want to make sure I understand, or they understand, what our vision is, okay? Lead by example. Encourage continuous learning and development. Foster collaboration and teamwork. And foster the culture, right? I want to encourage that culture. When it's happening, I want to reward it and acknowledge it. And when it's not, I want to be the first one to speak up and say, no, we don't do that here, or that doesn't happen here, whatever it might be, okay? I put a couple pictures up. First one was Michael Scott, right? This guy, everybody knows this guy or no? Hawkeye Pierce, right? Wasn't a formal leader per se, but he really was a very influential leader, right? And I'm asking you to think about who's your favorite leader when we go through these four pictures. Adapt to change. Be willing to listen. Hey, I have an idea. Yeah, let's try that. We've never done it before, but I think it's worth a shot, right? Let's give it an opportunity to try. Celebrate accomplishments. Set clear goals. Push them for growth a little bit. Give them opportunities. Invite them to stuff like this. Book studies within your own group, within your own team. Admit your mistakes. I screwed up yesterday. I made a mistake, I made a poor decision, it was a wrong action, whatever it might be, or last month, or last week, or today, this morning, whatever it is, but acknowledge that. How are some ways you celebrate accomplishments at your workplace? Just curious.
We have a new system that we
Okay.
And so we meet once a month and come up with different ideas, and one of them is Reward Builder. And we partnered with them, and it was no cost at all, but we put money into a fund, and then I distribute money to all of our departments, and they can reward their employees through this fund.
Nice.
And it's not every employee's gonna get recognized, but those employees that are going above and beyond,
Okay.
they can give them like, I think the minimum dollar amount that you have to give is $10.
I like that.
And they can send a note, and they can email it, they can print it out, or they can text it to them.
Okay. I like that. What else? How can we celebrate some accomplishments?
I don't want to set a goal for my team.
Set a goal for the team.
I set a goal and I've only got 8 people.
Okay.
So if they meet that goal, I'll promise to buy their lunch.
Okay. Treat you to lunch. You hit the goal. Here it is. Lunch is on me. What else? Any thoughts? How do we reward? How do we celebrate accomplishments?
We do team lunches
Team lunches.
where we buy the food and we shut down the shop where everybody can eat together and kind of chit chat.
Yeah. Food is a universal unifier. People love to eat, right? They do. It's good to break bread with somebody, right? I have a client, they do employee rallies once a month. They take a conference room, and every department in the facility, in the operation, once a month, it's their turn to be the host for this employee rally. They all have the same budget, right? And every month they celebrate something, right? We hit our numbers, we hit our goals, we got a new customer, whatever it might be. They acknowledge their birthdays. Here's the June birthdays. Let's give them a hand. Let's sing happy birthday to these June people, right? Whatever it might be. They have food, etc. The GM speaks a little bit, but not a whole lot. He really doesn't. It's the department that's hosting that particular rally that given month, and they have it scheduled for a calendar year at a time. It's a great way to do it. Hey, we just acknowledge a couple things here. You've done this, this, and this. Let's celebrate a little bit. And they have it every month because there's always something to celebrate is how they look at it. Like, hey, we've always got something that we're doing right here, right? So that's a good thing.
It's helpful to know if it's an individual accomplishment you recognize.
Okay?
How do they like to receive the recognition?
Yeah.
If they don't like public praise, that's probably not the way to go.
No,
Um,
great point.
Maybe they want quality time with you, a one-on-one lunch. It's helpful if you know that about them.
Yeah, no, that, and I'll tell you a story young in my career that I goofed up big time. We had a guy that, good employee, solid attendance, never late for work, never absent. I mean, really, perfect attendance, literally perfect attendance, right? And they would have a stand-up meeting at the start of the day with the team, his little department. And I used to go to those periodically. I'd go, hey, I'm going this department today. And this one day, I knew he was coming up on like 3 years of perfect attendance, like a week from that, and he would have had 3 years solid, you know. And I said to him, in front of the group, hey, Mike, great job. Next week, you hit 3 years of perfect attendance. And he, okay, you know. An hour later, he was in my office. He said, please don't do that to me again. He said, I was embarrassed. He said, they're razzing me all day long. He said, I just don't want that. He said, I like to come to work. I like to do my job. But right to your point, some people don't want that praise in public. So individually, yeah, be careful, right? Chief Wallace Bowden, right? Chicago Fire, we know him. Pretty good leader. Promote work-life balance, right? Promote it. Make sure that it can't just be, you know, what they hear in the interview process, but promote it. Make sure it happens. I used to work with a guy years ago, and this was to the opposite of this, is what he would do. On a holiday weekend, if the holiday was on Monday, and he was the leader, he would always take that Friday off before and tell other people in the office, well, you can't because I'm going to be off on Friday. It's like, the team hated him. They hated him. They couldn't stand the man, right? Because they never got an extra long weekend because of him, right? Cultivate a positive work environment, you know, spread that positivity, spread it around. Be flexible, solicit and act on feedback. Ask them, hey, how am I doing? I want you to tell me the truth. Sit down, let's talk, right? What can I do to make your job easier, your job better, the team better? Where am I missing things, right? And this is a guy from West Wing, right? We know him, yes? All right, so, I'm missing a slide. The four folks we had Michael Scott, we had Hawkeye, Chief Bowden, and this guy here, and I can't think of his name in the show. Jed Bartlett, right. So which one would be the best leader for your team or your group? Is there a favorite you have? You say, yeah, he was great. Anybody? Michael Scott would be fun. A lot of chaos, but fun. Anybody else? What are your thoughts? Hawkeye, Michael Scott. Just curious. Anybody? What do you guys think?
We don't know, so.
You don't know. You don't know.
Okay, we didn't watch the show.
Okay. All right. I did this silly poll just for fun on LinkedIn, and interestingly, Michael Scott was the winner. People said, Michael Scott, Michael Scott. It's like, it's crazy, right? All right. So I found these little cards. They're called Awesome Cards. $9.99 on Amazon. Pretty neat. What you do is get this little card. You're awesome. On one side, it's got something pre-printed, all different things, right? And on the other side, you can write a handwritten note to someone. It could be your coworker. It could be your teammate. It could even be your boss, right? It could be your husband or your wife or your partner, your family member, your kid, right? I don't know, whoever it is, right? So what I want you to do is take one out of the box at random, think about who you're going to write it to, right? And write it out. Take it back to work. Take it wherever you're going, right? Spread a little positivity here. Here, I'll spread those around. Yeah, if you want to do half of them. Thank you. You got it. And I'm sure we have enough for everybody here. We should. Excuse me, you're good. You're good. Mm-hmm.
Where did you get these?
On Amazon. I think they were $9.99 if I'm not mistaken. And there's a couple different varieties. I've seen them out there. Everybody get one? Yes? So think about who you're going to write that out to, what you're going to say. And I want you to think about how pleasantly they're going to be surprised when you go back to work or home tonight and you hand it to that person. I guarantee you they're going to be pleasantly surprised. If they're not, I'll be shocked. I really would, okay? So awesome cards, okay? I was at a workshop one time and the guy said, take your cell phone out, think of somebody you really care about or love, and send them a text and say, you're the best human being I've ever known, right? It's like, wow. And wait for the reaction, the response on the other end when they get that text back. Pretty strong, right? So pretty cool. All right, final thing. On your sheet, on your table, you have a little cheat sheet, some 3 things that you can do between now and next Wednesday, right? 7 days to inspire your All-Star team. And I want you to work in teams or in groups, right? Not necessarily just individual. Obviously, you can't change your benefits package in 7 days. So a couple little things that you can do, right, to inspire your All-Stars, to make your team even better than they are currently, okay? Go to it. Let's hear what you got. We're gonna share some answers, basically. So if you can work in a team. Do you have a... Okay. And I'll get... How's everybody doing? Okay? Everybody have at least 2? At least 2 that you can share? All right, I'm going to ask you to share, and when you share, if you can speak pretty loudly so folks on the other side of the room can hear you. If you hear something from another team that you think is great, add it to your list, right? Get it down, right? How about we start with you guys, Blunt Memorial. What you got?
I could lead by example and get involved.
Lead by example, get involved. What else?
Well, I was just mentioning, I've got a new guy starting tomorrow. I'm going to be like totally engaged with his team to make sure that that's going to be a great experience for this new person.
Okay, that's important. Right, if the team welcomes him, much better chance of success than. Okay. What else? What else do we have?
Share uplifting or positive guidance.
Share uplifting and positive guidance. I love it. Yeah, absolutely. Accomplishments, things they've achieved outside of work or even at work, right? It doesn't have to be work related all the time. Sometimes it can be, hey, congratulations, I saw your daughter graduated high school or whatever. Or it's like, hey, this is good. I like this. And they care about me, not just my work person, but my family person as well, right? What you guys got?
I have asked for feedback and then act on it.
Ask for feedback and act on it, right? And sometimes you have to ask for feedback. They're not just going to willingly tell you. Some folks have to be approached in a group setting, or as we were just talking about, sometimes it's individually. They want to be approached one-on-one, or they'll come to you one-on-one. What else you got, Joy?
Celebrate the May wins.
Celebrate
May.
the May wins. Good. I like it. Anything else?
I just get my direct report, that I'm talking to them daily, but we're going to sit down 30 minutes and discuss what you're working on, what I can do to help you get that back. Good.
Good. I just read a book called Unreasonable Hospitality, guy in the restaurant business, but the book is a great book, by the way, but it really is about leadership and all that. And one of the things they did, and they always did, they would have a family meal before the restaurant opened. All the servers, bus people, cooks, everybody sat down and had a meal. And that 30 minutes was a time where they exchanged information, not just about the business, but about themselves as well. So kind of same concept. What you guys come up with?
Some of our pre-hire materials are outdated, and so I want to elevate that up with some others on the team for them to work together to get those in a good spot, because, somebody's first experience, you want it to be good and positive, make a lot of sense. So that's on the docket. And then I had some overall team meetings with all 3 or 4 of our locations, and those have fallen off the meeting scheduler. So
Okay. Get them back on the schedule. New hire, what'd you say? What was your first part? The packets, is that what you're saying? Like the pre-hire packets?
Accepted their offer. Okay, here are the things you need to do.
Right. And this is a silly thing and it's really dumb, but if it's been photocopied to death and that copy has deteriorated, it makes a terrible first impression for that new hire. It really does. It's like, this is what they think of us, right?
I am sort of newer at this location, so
Okay.
I have noticed that a lot of our employees have outdated information, like driver's licenses. Sometimes we do get a lot of employees in from new states.
Okay.
So when they initially apply, they have their other state's driver's license, and just want to
You need to get that up to par.
Yeah, to get their new information. Give me a chance to kind of meet with them one-on-one. Usually I don't see them most of the time, so
Okay. Good.
form a little bit of a relationship.
Good. How about you guys back here?
I think it's earlier, just leading by example and inserting yourself into the same job that they're doing.
Insert yourself into the same job they're doing. Walk in their shoes a little bit, right? Absolutely. Absolutely. When I was at Caesars, they used to do, we had a cafeteria, 24/7, lunch, dinner, breakfast, whatever. But twice a year, anybody assistant vice president and above had to go down and serve the food in the cafeteria, right? And what an experience for them, let me tell you, right? My burger's not quite cooked the way I like it, whatever. It's like, I'm telling the vice president this, right? So it was a good experience. But yeah, walk in their shoes a little bit.
Probably try to get more one-on-one conversations.
More one-on-one conversations with your team.
Yeah, we have a group meeting every morning. I do interact with everybody,
Okay.
but, one-on-ones, maybe I need to start doing that.
Okay, good. Back here, anybody?
Celebrate success.
Celebrate successes.
People into our program, get job offers, we would celebrate.
That's a good thing. Share success stories. John started here 4 years ago as a teammate. Now he's the supervisor, right? Look at the trajectory this guy's had or this gal's had in their career. You could be the same, right? Share those stories. How about you guys?
I said order these cards.
Order these cards. We like the awesome cards. Yeah. Good, I'm glad.
On a serious note, we are currently displaced due to construction in our building. Our
Okay.
team has just gone back to working from home mostly. So we're hoping to try to schedule a schedule coffee or lunch with them, buy them lunch, and try to be more intentional
Yeah.
about some
Okay. And one-on-ones, I'll tell you, I had a boss one time in the desk, and in his office, though, he had a round table that set off to the side a little bit with a couple chairs on it. Whenever I went there, he would take his phone, turn it off, silence it, put it in his desk drawer, and then he'd say, let's go sit at the round table. I don't need to be on the other side of you. We need to sit there together, basically is what he was saying, right? It means a lot, okay? What else? What you get? Go ahead, yeah.
Would just be open with each other, like if I made a mistake, I'll actually admit it to my team.
Okay.
Whereas also, you know, it's okay to make a mistake, we're human beings, so I want them to
Absolutely.
be honest with me as well and trust.
And what that does, that encourages them when they make a mistake to be able to come forward and say, I screwed up. I botched this yesterday. I know I shouldn't have, or I lost it with a customer, or whatever it might be. Ooh, you know, but it gives them that ability to do that when you do it, right? What else? How about you guys?
I put quarterly new hire luncheons, so, you know, we just get all the new hires together within the first 3 months or so.
Okay.
And then they sit all together, go around the table and introduce themselves so they get to know each other and what they do and what they have learned so far. And
Good. I like it.
building relationship.
Yeah. What else? What you guys have?
I put down prayer time with our particular team. Like,
Okay.
Our close-knit team for our staff. Our senior team does that.
Okay.
on a daily
But it
basis.
doesn't happen.
And so it probably does happen with other departments, I just don't
You
know
don't
about
know.
it. But it's just something that I thought about because.
Nice.
so,
Nice. Yeah, that's good.
What
do you write?
We have a thing called Trust Accelerators.
Trust accelerators. Tell me more.
Most of the things that we do as a company sincerely do.
Okay.
So like the first one is KDR, which is kind, respect, kind, K, kind, be direct, and R, respectful. So we speak to each other. There's something like, hey, this happened, you know, we speak, we're not afraid of retribution. In other
Good.
words. We speak directly, kindly, and respectfully. Putting issues on the table, you know, under the table stuff, the meetings after the meeting kind of stuff. Practice positive accountability in real time, so we don't let things fester and get bad. Begin everything with positive intent, and then we live our core values.
I want your list. I want that list. That's good. I love it. I love it. How about you guys?
I will create like an email template with the bios of each staff member. I think that's an easy template to create, and then whenever you're onboarding, it is a great icebreaker for someone to start if you kind of already have an idea and they're similar interests with someone.
Okay. Yeah, they can connect instantly. What else?
The Inside Out movie 2 comes out, and so part of my team has expressed interest in going, and I just think that it would be good,
That's
fun
neat.
staff outing to go and watch that movie together, and then I really have just your idea about the feedback and just anonymous anonymity, there we go, and getting just feedback on what we could do to improve and just building our organization and being a leader and
It's, you know, as far as an outing kind of a thing, escape rooms are a great team outing. Great. Because you get to see or they get to see how they interact with one another, who takes what roles, etc. So if you ever have that opportunity, if you do an outing kind of a thing, escape rooms are phenomenal. They really bring out a lot in people. What else? What you guys got?
We, on my side of the building, work with a lot of different disciplines, law enforcement, Department of Children's Services, et cetera. And so I thought about creating some sort of a survey to give out to them about what motivates them to do well, and then rewarding in those situations to encourage better.
What ideas do you have for rewarding? I'm just curious if I can ask.
Maybe a gift card to Chick-fil-A, or Chicken Biscuit, or a Visa card, or a meal.
Okay. Okay. Who'd we miss? Who did we miss? Did we get everybody? I'm sorry.
That's okay. I have a shop and a front desk, so I was thinking about maybe having the employees switch places so they can get a little bit of understanding from each side.
Great idea.
And just, following up on what they thought from the other side.
That kind of goes to his thoughts about, walking their shoes a little bit, right? Let's see what they experienced on a given day, because we have no idea sometimes, right? Or it's been so long since we've done it, it's changed dramatically, and it's time I revisit that and see what happens really today, Good. How many are going to order these awesome cards? I'm just curious. Anybody? We got a couple. Yeah, I knew we would. I just knew we would.
I'm ordering it like right now.
Are you really? Yeah, she's on Amazon. She's getting a couple boxes. That's great. That's great. Any questions or comments before we kind of wrap this up at all? Anything? No? All right, the puzzles I will gather up and put those pieces back in the box. Don't worry about them. The one thing I would ask you to do, if you do me a favor, is on the bottom of your pile of paper, there's a little bit of a survey sheet. I'd really love to hear your thoughts. Please do not hold back. I tell folks all the time, I've been in HR 38 years. There is nothing you're going to say that's going to hurt my feelings, right? Just give me some feedback, and then you can just leave it face down on the table when you're done with it. And I thank you all for being here today.